Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be unpacking a massive geopolitical and economic transformation that's unfolding right now up in the Himalayas. We're looking at how Nepal is radically rethinking its place in the world, completely shifting its foreign policy to chase a really bold vision of economic prosperity. Now picture this. You've got a completely landlocked nation wedged right between the demographic and economic titans of India and China. For decades, the default strategy for navigating this kind of geography was pretty much just simple survival. Keep your head down, right? But the old rules of the game are changing. Merely surviving between giants, well, that is no longer enough. Okay, let's dive into this course shift. For a long time, Nepal's foreign policy basically defined the nation as a passive buffer state, like a neutral zone meant to keep two massive rivals apart. But now, they're aggressively embracing this doctrine of Nepal first, transforming themselves into an active, vibrant bridge. It's a super pragmatic strategy of multi-vector autonomy. That basically means they're engaging multiple global partners simultaneously to build up their own economic strength, rather than just endlessly playing defense. Section 1. The Catalyst, the 2026 LDC graduation. So what's lighting the fire under this massive rethink right now? It's a looming deadline. To graduate from the United Nations Least Developed Country, or LDC status, a nation usually needs to meet some very specific economic and social thresholds. Now, Nepal met the human assets and vulnerability criteria back in 2015 and again in 2018. But here is a truly wild fact. When they officially graduate in November 2026, Nepal will be the first country ever to graduate without actually hitting the income criteria. That makes this an incredibly high-stakes transition. Because, you see, this graduation is a total double-edged sword. On one hand, Nepal loses some vital lifelines, things like preferential trade tariffs and specific international grants. But on the flip side, shedding that LDC label, it provides a massive boost to their global image. It drastically improves international creditworthiness, lowers risk premiums, and basically forces a necessary leap towards self-reliance and attracting some serious foreign direct investment. Section 2. Nepal's Diplomatic Reset. To survive losing those LDC perks and to attract that crucial global capital, the government realized the old ways of doing diplomacy just wouldn't cut it anymore. So they are completely overhauling their foreign service. Embassies are no longer just ceremonial outposts. They're being transformed into aggressive economic engines. Ambassadors are now judged on strict key performance indicators, or KPIs. We're talking securing foreign direct investment, accelerating tech transfers, promoting niche tourism, and directly connecting Nepali businesses with foreign markets. It's all business now. Section 3. Balancing giants through infrastructure. And this brilliantly illustrates how Nepal practically executes this multi-vector autonomy without making its neighbors mad. The answer? Concrete, steel, and high-voltage wire. Nepal is simultaneously juggling massive physical infrastructure projects from competing global powers. The U.S. Millennium Challenge Corporation is bringing a $500 million grant for transmission lines, while at the exact same time, Nepal is working with China's Belt and Road Initiative for trans-Himalayan railways and tunnels. Maximize the high-value development assistance from everyone, but absolutely avoid any formal military alliances. But, as you can imagine, walking this geopolitical tightrope creates some very real friction. Infrastructure in this region isn't just concrete, it is deeply strategic. Case in point, India, which is Nepal's primary energy market, actually implemented guidelines restricting the purchase of Nepali electricity if it's generated by projects with Chinese involvement. It's a pretty stark reminder of their constraints. Nepal wants to balance everyone, but the policies of their neighbors still directly dictate their economic reality. Section 4. Hydropower, the economic engine. That friction over energy brings us to the absolute crown jewel of Nepal's strategy, 43,000 megawatts. Let that number sink in for a second. It represents Nepal's technically feasible yet largely untapped hydropower potential. Nepal's rivers hold the literal key to their transition from a lower-income nation relying heavily on remittances to becoming the green energy powerhouse of South Asia. But unlocking that liquid gold comes with a massive price tag. Nepal's energy roadmap targets generating 28,500 megawatts by 2035. And to achieve that, they need an estimated $46.5 billion in investment. This single, staggering figure perfectly explains why those new embassy KPIs and that aggressive economic diplomacy we talked about are absolutely crucial. Domestic banks just cannot fund this alone. Foreign capital is quite literally make or break. And the payoff for that investment is huge. Nepal isn't just generating power for itself, it's building a massive regional export market. They've already secured a landmark agreement to export 10,000 megawatts of electricity to India over the next decade. Add to that a trilateral deal opening up the market to Bangladesh. By 2030, these cross-border energy agreements are estimated to rake in over $500 million in annual export revenue. This, right here, is the bedrock of their future prosperity. Section 5. Navigating Climate and Geopolitics. Now, of course, no grand strategy is without severe risks. On the geopolitical front, the harsh reality is that bilateralism among the big regional powers often structurally sidelines smaller states. Recently, India and China actually agreed to resume cross-border trade through the Lipi Lake Pass, which is a territory Nepal claims, and they did it without even consulting Kathmandu. It really proves the limits of Nepal's balancing act. When major powers find a convenient agreement, smaller sovereign claims can sometimes just get ignored. Then there's the environmental ticking clock. The Himalayas are undeniably beautiful, but they are incredibly vulnerable. Human-induced climate change is accelerating glacial retreat, which leads to a massive spike in the risk of glacial lake outburst floods, or GLOFs. Imagine a catastrophic wall of water suddenly rushing down a mountain valley. These floods directly threaten downstream communities, and they could literally wipe out the multi-billion-dollar hydropower infrastructure that Nepal is betting its entire future on. So, to combat this, Nepal is deploying its economic diplomacy once again. They recently secured a $13.8 million grant from the Green Climate Fund to proactively lower dangerous glacial lakes, build up early warning systems, and protect these vital river basins. It's a perfect example of tying international climate finance directly to national economic survival. Section 6, the path forward to prosperity. So, we've looked at the catalyst, the diplomatic reset, the infrastructure push, and the massive risks. The crucial point we need to take away is this: Nepal is absolutely racing toward becoming a middle-income country by 2030. They are shedding that passive buffer state mentality once and for all, actively leveraging their unique geography. By pulling in foreign investment to build transmission lines, tunnels, and massive hydro dams, they are literally paving the way to become a land-linked, prosperous hub connecting the region's massive markets. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to ponder. By intertwining its economy, its power grid, and its infrastructure with India, China, and the US, Nepal is hoping to buy long-term prosperity and security. But does deep economic interdependence actually guarantee true sovereignty? Or does it just create entirely new forms of vulnerability for a nation caught between giants? It's a seriously high-stakes balancing act, and the whole world is watching to see if they pull it off. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this helped you structure your understanding of this incredibly dynamic region.